Alright guys, today we're going to be taking a look at Black Myth Wukong. A little bit about the game. This is the first internationally released full-price game from Chinese developers Game Science. The story of the game is based on a Chinese novel called Journey to the West. And you play as the Destined One, traveling the lands to uncover the obscured truth about a legend from the past. You're basically a monkey man who was cast out by the other gods for not abiding by their laws, and now a new monkey man looks to uncover the truth about the OG monkey man and what happened to him. The story comes right out of the gate looking like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon meets Dragon Ball Z. It looks pretty badass, boys. Alright, let's dive a little bit into the gameplay. We'll talk about the good aspects of it. As soon as I started playing the game, it immediately reminded me of like a Dark Souls meets God of War. And you know what? The mesh of those two games surprisingly works fairly well here. I mean, you find shrines around the map that you can use as checkpoints and upgrade spots, kind of similar to the Graces in Elden Ring. And when you rest at a shrine, the normal enemies respawn, just like Dark Souls Elden Ring. And then after collecting enough will, is what they call it, will, which is basically souls, you get upgrade points called sparks that you can use to upgrade your build. And there's a nice variety of things to put your skill points into, and they even allow you to completely respec your points as many times as you want at the shrines. I mean, that's pretty cool, but it makes it way easier to fight bosses, because you can just respec into their weakness when you get there, and go from there. The game's not as hard as a FromSoft game, simply because you never lose any will or souls when you die. So you can just keep dying and you'll eventually get strong enough to get through the current obstacles that are stopping you. And collecting items in the world is also a mesh between Dark Souls and God of War. You either find random ingredients used for crafting or you find a chest with an actual item in it. The ingredients respawn after some time, so you can just keep farming them. Opening chests looks very similar to God of War with the cutscenes and the way he opens them. Sometimes you'll find meditation points that give you extra sparks to level up your build. Other times you'll find max health or max stamina pills, which permanently increase your max HP and max stamina. It kinda reminded me of the way you find random health and stamina boosts in Days Gone, actually. The game also has a crafting system. You can use it to make weapons, armor, medicines. It's a pretty basic system where you just wait to level up to unlock the next tier of weapons and armor, and then you just upgrade it. There's nothing really special about it. The combat feels pretty good. Not great, but it feels pretty good. It feels like a mix between Dark Souls and button mashing. You get away with button mashing your way through this game as long as you grind out enough levels beforehand. So you use a two-handed staff that you level up, and you also spec into different fighting stances with that staff. There's a lot of different stances to use, as well as different types of combos that you can unlock as you level up. You have quick attacks, you got strong attacks, and you can also do charged up strong attacks, which leaves room for lots of different combos. There's also a lot of different types of magic spells and transformations, as they call it, you can add to your arsenal depending on your playstyle. So you can transform into animals or spirits that you collect to help you. As you beat certain enemies, you collect their spirit and then you can use them. And you get access to stronger weapons and combos when you transform into these creatures. The magic spells can get super powerful, and they're usually the difference between life or death when battling bosses, no doubt. Most of the time the dodging mechanic feels pretty damn smooth, especially after you level it up. It feels very satisfying to get perfect dodges in this game, and it rewards you with a small window to strike once you perfect dodge too. You can also get stat boosts from perfect dodges after you level into that as well. So there's many different combinations on how you want to build your guy and what you want to do with them. Most of the boss battles are fun fights, but not all of them. It also helps that it's a low stakes environment because you don't lose anything for dying. And there's usually a shrine like right next to a boss fight, so you can just work through the patterns stress-free. The world feels good once the game finally opens up, pretty much after the first act or the first area. At first the map is small and restricting. Like when I first got in the game, I was like, what the fuck is this? Because everyone was saying it was a good game, and I'm like, this is dumb, this is linear as fuck, this is stupid. But after the first couple hours, the game opens up massively and finally shows you what it's capable of. So just hang in there if you start this game off. Just hang in there through the first jungle area. It gets better. The map is big enough to give that open world feel, but not so big that you're overwhelmed by it. The map's pretty big, but it also has that Dark Souls-y 3 paths lead to the same place thing going on. So I liked that actually. Alright, let's dive into some of the bad. The worst thing for me in this game wasn't even necessarily a gameplay thing, it was invisible walls. This game is full of invisible walls everywhere. I hate invisible walls, especially in modern gaming. I just put a cliff there. Put a cliff, put something that's an actual wall. I can't explain to you guys how crazy the invisible walls are in this game. So many paths that you think are paths or ledges or things you can go up and you can't go anywhere. Most of the time, especially during the first opening area, you have no idea what you can and can't jump on, or if you can or can't go a certain way. You just have to keep jumping around and checking things out to find out where you can and can't go. Once you get out of that starting area, the map opens up and it's not as bad, but it's still persistent through the entire game with the invisible walls. When first starting the game, the initial gameplay can feel kind of basic and cheap, at least for me it did. You feel the jank of the game from start to finish. This game is janky as fuck, but not always in a bad way. You get used to the game's particular jankiness, and then once you get used to it, you start to have fun with it. Sometimes the combos don't really string together effectively, and you feel as though the buttons are delayed. You have to do everything like a half second before you would normally, and this can lead to frustration when dodging, as you sometimes need to be a half second before the actual strike to get the dodge, or you hit the button and because you weren't quite done with the previous animation, it just doesn't register your dodge, so you just stand there and get hit. So when you're trying to play like that and really be calm about your button presses, it can make this hard, because when this starts happening to you, you find yourself start to button mash a bit because you kind of have to in order to make sure the inputs are happening. But doing this also obviously leads to its own problems, such as dodging too many times or swinging one too many times, so you got to kind of find that balance there with it. But you can definitely get used to it, and it's really not too bad once you get used to it. You can't really jump up to climb or anything when you first start playing, and obviously you're a monkey man, so you think maybe you can jump and grab ledges, climb up, and this game is full of ledges that are actually invisible walls, so you're going to be jumping on all kinds of stuff trying to get up on things that you can't. But you can basically only do your standard jump, and if you can't jump up to it, you can't get up there. The level design, especially in the very beginning, it feels like Uncharted 1 level design from PS3. I swear, man. It's very linear and it's full of invisible walls. You also have loading shimmies make a comeback in this game. That's where you have to watch your guy shimmy through cracks in a wall in order for the game to load the next section. It's not too bad, but I just found it funny that we're still doing loading shimmies in 2024. A big gripe of mine for this game is there is no map or mini-map in this game whatsoever, so you have to find your own way around. It's not always a bad thing, but on the bigger levels, you forget which shrine is which. So when you want to go back to something, you might have to fast travel to a few different shrines before you finally find the one that you were looking for. Most of the combat in this game is satisfying, but some of the boss battles can feel cheap as hell, man. And this is because some bosses will target lock you, and they'll follow you midair and adjust accordingly to all of your movements, making it feel as though you're just screwed one way or the other no matter what you do. And because this gives off the feeling that it's screwing you at times, it definitely gets your rage meter going, no doubt about it. The bosses also tend to pull out a new attack randomly that you've never seen before when it seems convenient for them to do so. So for instance, you fought this certain boss 12 times in a row, and you get him down to barely any health, but you're also almost out of health. So you're having this standoff with him, waiting for him to strike with one of the combos he's been using the entire time you've been fighting him, and then all of a sudden this particular boss busts out a ranged attack that you've never seen before and kills you. You're like, what the fuck? It can feel cheap as fuck sometimes. Also, the boss will do a 4-attack combo that you see in the rest of those fights as well. And when he finally does the 4-hit combo again, and you go to start attacking him, he just randomly adds a 5th attack to the combo and kills you. This kills the whole learning the patterns aspect from Dark Souls games and turns it into a fuck it, let me just hack and slash until I get lucky. And that usually works, unfortunately, especially if you just keep grinding out levels and go back to them and smash them out. So for a summary of the gameplay, if you can get past a little jank, this game can be a very fun Souls-like game, especially coming out of China. Most of the combat feels fluid, and the low-stress atmosphere, not losing your will or your souls, removes the filter that Dark Souls has for a more casual experience. Being able to respec your character at any time also helps with this and allows you to play to the weaknesses of the bosses that you get stuck on. And there's nothing really special about the gameplay as a whole. Everything that you experience in this game has been pulled from other games, but not necessarily in a bad way. The maps are big enough to go exploring and find your own way, but not so big that it overwhelms the player. So if I had to describe this game in a few words, honestly it would be baby's first Dark Souls. And I don't say that to demean the game, it's just that this is a good game to bridge the gap for someone looking to get into a FromSoft game of any kind, but doesn't quite have the skill to play them yet. This is the perfect bridge for that. Play this first. So we'll move on to the visuals. The good aspects of the visuals are that the graphics look absolutely amazing. The initial cutscene looks really well done and gets you hyped for the battles to come. And once you get into the actual game, the first jungle area looks crazy good. And as you get further into the game, the bigger maps and other biomes, such as the desert area, just keep blowing your wig back with how good it looks. The enemies and player models look great. You can tell the developers put a lot of detail and care into the models in the game. The bosses really stand out as their own entities, and that really adds to the nuance of the gameplay. All of the environments are very detailed, and it creates a unique atmosphere for this game that I thoroughly enjoyed. Alright, the bad aspects of the visuals are, once again, the invisible walls really get in the way of taking in this amazing game world. The world looks so good and so detailed, but not being able to go very many places off the beaten path really takes away from the world these devs created. It's unfortunate. There's some animals in the world, but their pathing and movements are very robotic and can kind of take you out of the game when you see it. Sometimes you'll see like rabbits just sitting there looking like plastic lawn decorations. They don't move. And then if you stand there and watch them, they'll move to like 3 different places and then go back to the original one and just stand there like a lawn decoration after that, after they've done their 3 movements. And also, not having a map can make it frustrating when trying to figure out where to go, especially when the map has many ways to go, but you don't know which one to take, and you don't know which of the ways are just going to be an invisible wall and which ones aren't. It can be very frustrating. So to summarize the visuals, the graphics are top-notch, and the developers put a lot of attention to detail into these player models and environments, but having said that, the invisible walls can be so bad at times that it rides a fine line of making or breaking the game. It really does. Okay, so we'll move on to the sound. The good aspects of the sound are that the in-game music is very fitting for the world that's being portrayed. I mean, it helps to pump up the boss battles and gets you in the zone. And the sound effects are on point and sound good when your monkey man's flying around bashing enemies with his staff. The cutscenes have decent voiceovers and they work really well in Chinese or English, honestly. But the bad parts of the sound are that the sound optimization in this game seems to be lacking at times right now. Like, you'll have weird audio cuts during cutscenes sometimes, or the music will just cut in or out randomly. It can be a little jarring. And during the cutscenes, although the voiceovers are pretty well done, when playing in English, the mouths of the characters don't match up at all. But it can be pretty damn funny, honestly. So to summarize the sound, most of the sound in this game, from the music to the combat, it fits right in and sounds good in this game. The sound does cut in and out from time to time, but not enough to be game breaking, and I'm sure they'll fix this with the patch real soon. Alright, so my final thoughts on Black Myth: Wukong. Well, first and foremost, it's a fun, enjoyable game. And that's really all I need to know. It's a fun, enjoyable game. The game takes aspects from other successful games, such as Dark Souls and God of War, and it finds a way to mesh them together and almost a perfect balance, in my opinion, to create this casual, fun Dark Souls-y experience. The story's good enough to keep you invested in pushing through the game, and the absence of any woke nonsense in this game means you can just sit back, enjoy the game, and not have to worry about your expectations being subverted. For this being China's first international release like this, I'd say they've shown that they are ready to compete with the top AAA Western devs. 100%. So that's good news for us, because that means we'll get more non-woke games. But yes, there is a lot of fun to be had here. It really is. So should you buy this game? Yeah! Yes, you should buy this game, but I probably wouldn't buy this at full price unless you're desperate for a new game to play. I'd wait for a sale, preferably $20, because you might only play through this once, maybe twice. So yeah, this game's definitely worth a buy. And I'd especially recommend this to anyone who's looking to get into the FromSoft games, but finds them a little too hard for their taste. This game will get you somewhat prepared to deal with the madness that is FromSoft games. So yeah, check this game out if you guys get a chance, but you don't have to buy it at full price, guys. Alright guys, well that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you guys think down below. I really did enjoy this game. It was a breath of fresh air to play a game that's non-woke and just sit back and have a good time. So, alright guys, well that was my review of Black Myth Wukong. Let me know what you guys think down below. And until next time, I am out of here, motherfuckers.